Hey guys, it's Marley, and today I'm excited because it is Ragpicker King release day by Cassandra Clare. This is the second book in her Swordcatcher series, and I'm here today to introduce the reading vlog I'm going to be doing for this book. I'm going to do a spoiler-filled reading vlog. I know for the first book I did spoiler-free, but at this point I feel like if you want to watch a reading vlog of the sequel, you're probably only watching it if you also read the books. So I'm going to make this spoiler-filled so we can get into all of my thoughts unfiltered. However, I do have a bunch of work trips this month. You can see my suitcase back there. I'm literally gonna finish packing today and go on a trip tomorrow for work. So I'm not able to read this as soon as I would like, but I wanted to start this vlog because I'll probably start the book today and then I'll just get back into it when I'm back from my trip later this week. For the spoiler-free section though, just so you know, Swordcatcher was a 5-star book for me. It's an adult fantasy book about these two main characters. Kel is involved in the royalty in this world. He is the sword catcher for the prince. Basically, he is his #1 guard. And then we have Lynn, who is one of the only remaining magical people in this world. Sorry, my tripod keeps falling. I don't know how to fix that. So those are two main characters. We're really exploring the politics of this world, the magic system, and how magic has been banned and outlawed for years, but it is coming back through people like Lynn. As with all of Cassandra Clare's books, there's really great characters and relationships to follow. I know in the last book there was a bit of a mystery that had me very intrigued as well, and there was definitely a bit of a cliffhanger and action at the end. So really excited to dive into this one. So yeah, I'll be back once I have started this and have an update. Here is a close-up of the cover, and the map inside I think looks really nice actually. And another cool thing about the cover is this image that is on the hardback directly, and then this is on the side, but I think this is pretty cool. I think that's Lynn and Connor. All right, let's start. Also mad I got a copy with something going on here, but it's not a huge deal. Alright. Oh, and looks like the series has a name. Chronicles of Castellane. I don't know if it had that name before. I've just been calling it the Swordcatcher series, but Chronicles of Castellane is cute. We got a lot of C's going on. Oh, the difference in how she treats me now when I have ice cream.
Talking to us sitting here right now.
Now she loves me.
Very real now.
Alright readers, it has been a minute. I started the book, only got like 30 pages in, went on my work trip, and now I've been back and able to read a little bit. I have gotten to 100 pages in of the Ragpicker King. So it's coming back to me a little bit. First 100 pages was a little bit rough in terms of not having a great memory of the first book. Obviously, it's been a while since I read it, since I read the first one when it came out, and my first vlog was non-spoilery, so I couldn't reference that. I didn't reread it, and I couldn't really find any spoiler summaries online either. So I'm going in a little bit blind, but to be honest, now that I'm 100 pages in, it is coming back to me a little bit more. There's just so many characters in this world, so many different families and political things going on, that at first I was like, oh, like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this book as much as I enjoyed the first book, which was a 5-star, but I am back to seeing potential for it. So basically we start out with a prologue where we're seeing this guy, Ardell Greymount or something. I'm gonna have to reference this a lot. Ardell Greymount, who we basically are seeing as like a total psycho villain, and he is coming to Castellane and he is gonna be Antonetta's husband. They are engaged, so I'm really worried about this storyline because Antonetta is one of my faves and I really don't want her to marry this evil man who seems to get off on hurting people, especially women. So he apparently has just got to town, so we haven't seen too much of him yet, but we have that going on. We've also had a couple other random scenes where we're seeing this other guy's point of view, Laurent. We're getting a little bit more insight into Artel, and he seems to be involved with this mysterious black figure, or I think he kind of confirmed the gender, that it's a woman, who we saw in the first book and was a part of that big murder killing that happened at the castle in the last book that resulted in the princess dying, princess that Connor was engaged to. So it all started coming back to me. So this is a very mysterious figure, which I found interesting that they kind of gave her an identity right away. She apparently is the Princess Magi something, which a lot of the words that are used are very similar, that it is quite confusing. Malgazi, sorry, there's a lot of M names in this. Malgazi, or Princess of Malgazi. So I'm kind of shocked that they gave her an identity so far, because she still is a mystery to our main characters, unless I am getting things confused and there are multiple figures that are all in black, but I'm pretty sure that's who it is. But Kel still doesn't know. What's really confusing is that we're having this other name come up, which is Magali. So it's very similar, and so I'm like, are these the same or are they different? Like, there's so many. There's Mayesh, there's Miriam, there's this other M name. There's a lot of M names. But anyways, so we're getting some little insights there. But mainly we're following Kel, who is still working with the Ragpicker King and his crew. It's very much giving Six of Crows energy of like this little group of assassins. And they're kind of going on little quests, or like they just went on one in the recent chapter I read. And it just very much felt like the little crew in Six of Crows. So I might start recommending this to people who are fans of Six of Crows, or like little criminal friend groups, because that's kind of what this book is giving. So I really like seeing Kel working with those people, and of course Lynn is also involved in the group, but a little bit more hands off. So Kel is really trying to get to the bottom of who arranged those killings in the last book. In the meantime, Prince Connor is working on a new betrothal to benefit their kingdom, and just really working hard. He used to be more of like a fun-loving prince, but in this book we're really just seeing him work really hard and take his prince duties very seriously. And so we haven't seen too much of his character yet. But yeah, still enjoying following Kel. And then Lynn in the last book came forward as the goddess that has been like prophetized for the Ashkar people. So she kind of lied about this in order to get access to more magical books and knowledge, but she's not actually the goddess. But honestly, I kind of feel like she probably is the goddess. But anyways, she is just about to get tested now by her people to see if like she really is the goddess. Definitely liking that, because I feel like the magic sometimes can be a little bit lacking in this book. It's so focused on the political families and stuff. Always excited to see Lynn's storyline where she's actually doing more magic. But yeah, still a lot of the side characters like Jared, and who is this Marin, Jeanne. I couldn't quite remember these characters from the first book, but I'm getting to know their personalities again, getting reacquainted, and I'm liking them. I feel like there could be a potential ship with Jeanne and Kel. The only thing I wish I could remember, and I might try to research this, is Kel had a friend back at the orphanage in the first book. I think the name was Cass or something, and I keep thinking that character is going to come back. I don't remember if they did in the first book and we figured out what happened to that friend, but I keep thinking that friend's going to come back, and I was thinking that he was maybe this mysterious black figure, but now we know that it's this woman. I need to try to remember if we have seen where that friend went, or if he might just pop up again, because I think that would be fun to see someone from Kel's past come back in present day. Still shipping Kel and Antonetta at the end of the day, even though they haven't had too much scenes. Anyways, I've been talking for a while for this first 100 pages update, so I will wait and talk more about it when I'm another 200 pages in. I think I'll update every 100 pages. Alright, I'm 200 pages in to the Ragpicker King. I feel like there's not as much to report right now. I feel like maybe it's a bit of just like setup going on. I feel like Cassandra Clare, she's introducing so many characters, and I'm a little bit unclear of like what she's really trying to accomplish with this series. If you're reading the book, if you've read it and you're watching this vlog, definitely let me know your thoughts on that. Do you see a clear goal with this series? It just kind of seems a little all over the place. But anyways, we have gotten a little bit more interaction with Lynn and Connor, which is nice to see, because they're definitely like one of the main ships of this series. They're still having a little bit of hate to love, I guess. They're not totally getting along, so love to see that. We also found out the king is like very sick and dying, so we're learning a little more about that. Lynn is gonna look into that and try to figure out. It seems like he's being poisoned though. And then we had Angelica, I think her name is, which is the princess of Kutani or whatever, who's Connor's bride, his fiance, that has arrived, and she immediately sniffed out Kel. She's quite a cool character. She's quite smart, and she's also described as like the most beautiful woman ever. So she seems like a promising character, but I'm just getting so confused by the character dynamics. I'm like, is she a new love interest for Connor, like for real, or like what is her role going to be? Also, yes, I did look into it a little bit. Kel's friend from the orphanage was named Cass, and it doesn't seem like he came back, but I did see some other people online like theorizing that he would. So many of these characters, I'm like, is that Cass? But maybe not. Like, but I really hope Cassie makes him show up somehow. Like, I think that would be a really good twist. There's Prosper Beck, which is a character I totally do not remember from the first book, but he seems to have disappeared from town in this one. But I think he was either against the Ragpicker King or something like that. Like, they were both kind of criminal masterminds on the streets or whatever. We're not seeing a ton of the Ragpicker King, despite him being the titular character. Also, his real name is Andrian, which at first I was like, who are they talking about? I did not remember that was the Ragpicker King and Andrian were like the same people. I'm still always very intrigued when he's on page. He's just so like somber. He's not really giving much away. Like, he's a pretty mysterious character. So if we do learn more about him, then I am excited for it. But yeah, really hoping something can happen with Cass, more with Ragpicker King. Also Prosper Beck, I hope I learn more about him and like remember more about him. Apparently him and Antonetta have a bit of a relationship, so there's still things I'm catching up on that I'm not totally remembering, but most of it is fine and things are just kind of developing. The characters haven't made too much progress towards like who's solved the massacre, but we're also finding out more about that Laurent character who is the pirate. I'm wondering if maybe he's Cass. I don't know, probably not, but he has a thing for this new princess that's come to town. So we have a lot of different villains, mainly a focus on the politics. Like I said, I would love more magic in this series, but it really takes the back burner. So I'm gonna keep reading. It is only, it's almost 10 o'clock. I'll try to keep reading a little bit more tonight. I am enjoying it. It's going quickly, as always with Cassandra Clare. Alright, so I'm over 300 pages into the book now. We've definitely had some updates. We've had some wishes being fulfilled on my end because we are definitely finding out some more about the magic of this world involving the royal family, finally, because it has seemed very much like the royalty has been very separate from the magic. But we found out that the reason that the king is sick is that he seems to have some sort of magical curse on him, and he was taking this poison for years, I think, to get rid of this magical curse that was on him. And now that he no longer has this medication or this poison that he's taking, he is like having this like phoenix power, like this fire power. He's burning things unexpectedly, including Connor. That is interesting to learn. And then we also learned through the villain's perspective that Connor is also probably going to have some sort of magical abilities or something related to magic with Connor now. So that definitely makes it a lot more interesting, makes the fantasy aspect of this a lot more relevant, knowing one of our other main characters is going to have magic. So that was good to learn. We also learned more details about the villains, again through some different perspectives, but the Princess of Malgazi is who that assassin is, which we know. She's working with Greymont. She's working with Lady Allian, Antonetta's mom, and some other of the charter families. So we kind of know what the villains are doing. They're trying to take over Castellane from the Aurelians through Connor. So we know what's going on with them. And just now, Kel is finally kind of learning the details of this as well. So that's good to finally have our main characters learning about this. Lynn and Connor have continued to bond and have some romantic moments. And speaking of romance, Antonetta and Kel had a really intimate scene where she wanted to be intimate with him, so her first time wasn't with Greymont. Speaking of him, he just was murdered, so I'm so happy about that. I didn't want to deal with a psychopath, like sadist character, so I'm really glad that he is dead and Antonetta doesn't have to deal with him. We also are learning more, or we've also seen more of the Princess Angelica. As I said before, she's really smart, but she seems to know so much about what's going on in Castellane, and she actually scheduled like a meeting with the Ragpicker King, and she's trying to get him and the crew to like help her with something. Basically, the pirate Laurent and her had a bit of a thing, and so she's trying to like get these letters back from him that he has that will make her look bad. So all of these characters are just all very involved, and then there's still stuff going on with Prosper Beck where he is coming back into town and Jared's going to be working for him again. Very curious about Prosper Beck because I don't remember him from the first book, and he's just getting mentioned a lot now, so looking forward to seeing more of him and how he'll come into play. Still hope that he is secretly Cass, Kel's friend, but we'll have to see. So I feel like things are picking up, but this series is still like so chaotic and so kind of all over the place, but hopefully it will come together as it goes on. Yeah, that might be the update for now. I'm gonna, I think, keep reading, and I'll let you know when I'm 400 pages in. All right, we are over 400 pages into the Ragpicker King. Things have been happening. Well, a few key things. So we had the fallout, obviously, of Greymont dying in that little sea cave. Antonetta now knows more like how Kel is involved with the Ragpicker King. Then we had this ball, this masquerade ball. Love that. Lynn ended up going, and Lynn and Connor were intimate together. That took up, I feel like, a lot of the pages. That was a pretty fun scene to read. Yeah, because this is Cassandra Clare's, you know, first adult book, we normally don't get too many details like we do in this. So, you know, that was fun to read. Yeah, pretty crazy. So they hooked up, but then they immediately had like a falling out. So it's very angsty. I'm not convinced that Connor and Lynn are going to end up together, to be honest, but they are probably the most like endearing ship of the series at this point. Other things that happened at the party is that Laurent Arden, Aiden, whatever, showed up, who we know has a thing with Angelica, and they had a little talk, which we got to see from Angelica's point of view. She definitely is lying and scheming to Kel and Connor. She still seems to love Laurent and have like a plan to be with him in the future, but it is nice to see that she doesn't want to betray Connor so soon. But we do know that her ultimate goal, I think, is to be with Laurent. And there's little hints that make me believe Cass is present, Cass being Kel's friend. I feel like Cassandra Clare has mentioned Cass throughout this book, like she wants us to remember that he existed as Kel's orphan friend. And Laurent says a little comment that's like, imagine growing up here as an orphan, and it just makes me suspect him. And we've also had a detail with Prosper Beck. Now, I don't remember all the details of the first book where Prosper Beck, I think, was more present, but we had a little flashback of when Kel got hurt, and Prosper Beck was like, oh, Kel was not meant to get hurt, which makes me think Prosper Beck could be Kel, could be Cass, and that's why he like cared about Kel. I don't know. As I think I might have said already, please let me know your Cass theories in the comments, unless we find out by the end of this book anything for sure. So yeah, we had that going on at the party. Kel also is continuing his investigating of the families that have betrayed Aurelian and are working with Malgazi. That is still going on, and he's getting a little bit messy. He's been messy this whole time, kind of messing up when he's imitating Connor as a sword catcher. So I think things might blow up in Kel's face pretty soon. I wish Connor and Kel were being more honest with each other, because they both love each other and trust each other so much, yet they're not sharing everything. So that, I imagine, will come out in this book. Lynn is really upset about Connor, which is sad to see, but I honestly think his name's Aaron. Who knows? All the names are so similar. The Exilrach, or the special like Ashkar figure that came to their city because he's supposed to test Lynn as the goddess. He is like kind of a hot guy that she has been having moments with. He just recently watched her treat her patients, and he kind of helped her with something. I'm getting some vibes from them that they might be a potential ship, and so I think this might be her better relationship other than Connor. Like, I don't think it's gonna ultimately work out between her and Connor, anymore. So this could be a potential good option for her. There's, I think, a destiny thing in the prophecy where like his role is destined to like protect the goddess, and if Lynn really is the goddess, then like they obviously would be like a good match. Antonetta, oh, that was another interesting thing from the masquerade, is that Antonetta goes to talk to Kel when he's pretending to be Connor, and she kind of betrays Kel. She's trying to tell Connor about how Kel is involved with the Ragpicker King, which obviously worked out that she was actually telling Kel directly instead, but it just showed that she's not totally loyal to Kel, which does make sense for her character. I think she really has just been very ambitious and about getting power. So it makes sense. It's just kind of sad for like the Kel and Antonetta shippers because she's kind of betraying him. But she made an interesting point about how like the Ragpicker King cannot be trusted and he is a master manipulator. And I thought that was very interesting. Now, is she just lying? Maybe. But the fact that this is called the Ragpicker King and like he's barely been in it and mostly he's being portrayed as like a good guy, I'm wondering if that is going to be the ultimate twist, is that the Ragpicker King is going to be evil and is going to be having some master plan to take over. Because they do talk about how there's the king on the hill, Connor, and then there's the king of the streets, which is the Ragpicker King. They're like, oh, they work together, like it works out having both, but maybe Andrian's ultimate goal is to like take over all of it. I don't know, but I think that would be interesting because he seems like kind of a good guy, soft-spoken, like whatever. All of our characters trust him, but it would be really interesting if like he ends up betraying everyone and being the ultimate villain. There's so many like potential villains though. But yeah, I want to find out more about like the beef between Aurelians and Malghazi. Clearly the king did something when he was there. In Malghazi, he like stole something. We're getting like Lynn's having visions of like a cage and fire, and I don't know if we're gonna get into dragons. I know dragons did exist in this world, so maybe we're gonna get some dragons, but we know the king definitely wronged Malghazi. Another thing, a lot of the world, like I'm forgetting things, but another major kind of historical thing is that the Malghazi have like killed all of their Ashkar people. They treated them really poorly. So that's just another reason why the Malghazi are villains and why I think all of our main characters like Lynn and her Ashkar people and Connor and the people on the hill, like they need to band together to go against the Malghazi because they have killed their Ashkar people in the past. Like they have proven themselves to be evil. So anyways, this has been a long update because I don't know, just felt like gabbing about this. But yeah, we're down to probably gonna only have one more update after this because I have less than 150 pages left. So instead of just doing another 100-page check-in, maybe I'll just finish the book and check in, or maybe I'll want to check in before then. I don't know, but it's Friday today, basically the end of the work day, so hopefully I could finish this tonight. But that is a lot of pages to read, but I mean, it's Friday night, so let's see. Things are terrible right now as far as the book is concerned. I am just over 500 pages. I thought I would do one last update before the final update, just because so much has happened and it's like our lowest point right now. I hope this is just a trilogy. I hope this is like the lowest our characters get, and then next book can be better. This is definitely the worst time for both Kel and Lynn. But before we get into that, we did get another thing that I wanted, which was finally a full-on disclosure of what happened with the King Marcus, Connor's dad, and the Malghazi people. Basically, when he was there, he discovered that they were like abusing and using this phoenix, which obviously is a magical creature, but they were being really like terrible to it, kind of like torturing it and using it to fill their like sorcerer stones, which Lynn also uses. Well, she hadn't up until this point. But yeah, basically he saved this phoenix by killing it so that it no longer would have to live with this torment. But by killing it, all of its blood and fire like went into his body. So it's like that's what he stole from them, was their source of power and their source of magic. And so he has had this in him, and basically like because phoenixes are known to like rebirth, like they die and they rise again, he is going to basically become a phoenix. So that is what that poison has been stopping, was like his transformation. It was putting it off. Now he is back into his transformation now that he hasn't had that poison. So his hands are like full on fiery talons right now, and that's why he can no longer like speak like a normal human. So he's like speaking mentally and I guess magically with with Lynn and telling her all this. And basically the Malgazi are like trying to get him and his power back, which is the Phoenix power, because they need it because they're going to eventually run out of like all their stones that they filled before. Interesting. I like learning about more of the magic, of course, because this is a fantasy. Like, I want more of the magic at the forefront. And so because he had a child, like, this fiery magic is also in Connor as well. So we'll have to learn a little bit more about that. Like, when the king dies, will it fully go into Connor? Like, I don't know. But we got that explained, and then he gave Lynn some of his power to finally fill her stone, which she's had for a while but she hasn't been able to use. And perfect timing, it's right when she is gonna have to do this test to prove that she's a goddess. I was like, this is perfect. Now she finally has the power to prove it, and she ends up, I would say, succeeding in the test. She is told to cure Miriam, her best friend, which she's been trying to do, and then she actually is able to do it because she has all this power. But then it kind of like overtakes her and she ends up starting a fire and she faints, and then she has gotten exiled from the Ashkar because the Maharam or whatever has decided that. And so it's really just a piss off, because it's like, you guys wanted the goddess, like, you have been waiting for her. She's literally proving herself. I know she doesn't believe she's the goddess, but like, she obviously is going to be. And it's just so annoying that they like don't believe her. They don't actually want the goddess. They just want like the idea of her. And now she's exiled, and she of course can stay at the Black Mansion like with Ragpicker King and his crew. Hopefully she can help like just fully embrace her power and everything now that she doesn't have the limits of being Ashkar. But it's obviously just like really upsetting for her because she loves being, you know, an Ashkar person. Like, that's part of her identity, and that's where her loved ones are in this community. So I'm just like so anyways, we have that. And then on the side of freaking Kel, I knew it was gonna blow up in his face. The fact that him and Connor have not been sharing their secrets, mainly Kel not telling Connor, it reminds me of like Merlin and Arthur from Merlin. It's just like so frustrating that he didn't tell him. He waits till it was too late, and basically the other charter families betray him and go to Connor first and say, Kel's been working behind your back. He's been working with the Ragpicker King against you. He helped Angelica escape, because then Angelica escapes with Laurent. They frame Kel to make it look like he was in the know, and Connor's not believing him, and it's just so frustrating. And so now Kel is literally in prison to be potentially murdered. Like, it's so frustrating, and it's like it could have been avoided if Kel just talked to him first. Like, I knew something like this was gonna happen, so it's really annoying. And then even Joviet, at first it seemed like he was betraying, but now it seems like he's not. He just doesn't want to like come forward and help Kel. They're basically using him as like a sacrifice, as the sword catcher. Really frustrating. I hope that our little Ragpicker crew can save him. But in the meantime, yeah, Angelica goes off with Laurent, and there's this comment where Kel says he recognizes his voice for some reason, and like, it just continues to push my theory that he is Cass, and that's why he's recognizing his voice, even though like your voice would obviously change over like 20 years, but it helped with my theory, so we'll see if that ever becomes relevant. Another potential theory, I don't know the impact of this exactly, but the Ragpicker King, when talking to Lynn after she was exiled, said a comment about how he was exiled before in his life. Sorry for the background noise. I don't know if this was explained in book 1 and I'm just forgetting, but I'm thinking maybe he is the person that was talked about in this book. I'm pretty sure I'm remembering this correctly, where like in Malgazi there was an heir before this princess Elsbeth, I guess her brother, but he was the heir, and then he fell in love with an Ashkar person, and then he got exiled because of that, and like she got killed, and then they said that he also killed himself. But I'm feeling like maybe it's the Ragpicker King, and actually he didn't kill himself. He just like created a new identity in a way, killing his old self. But you know, but we'll see. I'm coming with all these theories. It's like with the friggin' Fourth Wing series, like I hope some of them actually come to fruition and I'm not just making this more interesting than it needs to be. But that would be cool, because there's so many characters. There's already a mistaken identity happening between Kel and Connor and stuff, that I just think more like mixed up identities would be cool to reveal. Things are terrible right now. I have like 50 pages left. I will definitely finish it later tonight, so stay tuned for another update soon. In terms of a rating, since I'm so close, I should be able to say a guess. I'm kind of thinking 4 stars, because I just don't know. Like, I feel like I'd be lying to myself if I said 5 stars, and I would just be saying it because it's Cassandra Clare and I love her. I don't know if it is that 5-star feeling, to be honest, but we'll see in a second. All right, I finished the book last night, and And you know what? I went ahead and gave it 5 stars. I did rate it 5 stars because even though I felt like I was so close to the end of the book, I thought it was going to end on like this low note where our characters were in a worse place that they've been. There actually was a little bit more that happened at the end, and it kind of left me with a satisfied feeling. So I did just rate it 5 stars, and I feel good about that. I think I've always connected with Cassandra Clare's writing so much, and I just do enjoy reading it, honestly. Like, I have no problem just sitting and reading for hours with her writing. But anyways, in terms of what happened at the end, we had Lynn go to Connor because she thought she could get through to him about Kel and how he was innocent, but Connor was like not hearing it. He was really going through it. This man was like really emotional, really upset about Kel and then also Lynn, and he realized he couldn't trust either of these people he was close with. We see a scene closer to the end, well, it's the epilogue actually, where we actually finally get Connor's point of view talking to his dad, the king, and we see that it was his plan to push Kel and Lynn away because he wants everyone to think he's weak and in this weak position, and so they'll come for him and he'll be like ready for it. So honestly proud of him, like good for him, but it was very angsty because then we also see him go to visit Kel in the jail, and Kel is like begging him to forgive him, believe him, and Connor is like not listening. It's really frustrating. Like, Connor's laying it out, like, look at all this evidence of you betraying me, like you've been going behind my back, lying, hanging with the Ragpicker King, and Kel's being like, that's not true. And it's like, it is true, Cal. Like, just explain why you're doing that. Anyways, there definitely were frustrating moments, but at least we know Connor has a plan for it, so it's not as frustrating. But back to Lynn. So she goes back to the Black Mansion with the Ragpicker King. Guess who's there but Aaron, the Exlarch or whatever, I can't say it. And I was right. I called it. The Ragpicker King is Asher. So the Ragpicker King, aka Adrian, aka Asher, is the guy who was exiled. I mean, I think this was kind of obvious. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm so smart. Like, when he kept saying, well, you know, I was exiled too. Like, it's kind of obvious that he was the other person talked about being exiled. But yeah, so he was Ashkar and he was exiled before. So interesting to learn that. I'm really glad we had that reveal because, as I said, I think a lot of these reveals were definitely needed after everything that we went through. In all of these pages. And then it was really nice to see. So Aaron like gets down on his knees, proclaims that he believes Lynn is a goddess and he is gonna like help her, which is really great. I just don't quite understand the like politics of the Ashkar people. Like, if he believes her, then why is the Maharam like able to exile her? Like, why can she not just come back? Because the Exlarch whatever believes her. I don't know, but basically she's still exiled, but he is going to help her. It looks like her and Aaron are going to go on this journey in the next book to go connect her with the Sorcerer's Stone. So potentially what I thought might happen of them like bonding more and maybe being a relationship, or maybe she will still be with Connor, because the more I think about it, like, it actually would be kind of nice to have like the Ashkar queen in a sense and then the Aurelian king be together. Like, that would kind of like join the country together of Castellane, like bringing Ashkar and Castellane together. So maybe they will end up together, and that actually would be a nice little pairing. So anyways, that leaves off on a good note for the next book. And then Kel, so he wakes up in, you know, the dungeon, and someone's left a key for him. So he is able to escape. He's able to crawl down the building with his crawler skills. And then Connor is there. And I was really shocked. Like, I thought maybe someone had stepped into the role of sword catcher already and was pretending to be Connor. Like, I didn't know if it was really Connor at first, but it was. And basically what we see is that Prosper Peck gives Connor this protection stone that Greymont had worn before. I don't know if I talked about it in this vlog, but Greymont had this protection stone that the Malgazi queen had given him, but throughout the course of the book it was stolen from him, and that's how he was able to get killed. And it was Prosper Beck who had it. He gave it to Connor, and then Connor gave it to Kel. Love it. And he pushes Kel off of a cliff. So he makes it seem like he murdered Kel and he went through with the plan of, you know, killing him for treason, but really he gave him this protection so he could not die. So Kel fell off the cliff, he survived and everything. He like puts things together. I really liked this part. This is my favorite part of the ending, where like he puts it together and he's like, I'm gonna go see her or whatever. I'm gonna go see this person. And I'm like, oh, it's Antonetta, like obviously. And I'm like, he's figured out who she is. And so I kind of put it together as he was, of like that she is Prospect. Or like, I don't even know if I fully put it together. Like, it was a mixture of, I had suspected it, but also I was kind of surprised because I don't think I mentioned it in this vlog because it was during the first book that I was so sure Antonetta was involved in something and that she was like behind everything going on, that she was like this mastermind. And that was my big theory in the first book. Nothing really happened with that in the first book. I remember feeling a little disappointed. And in this book, I think I kind of forgot about that because I didn't remember all the details of the first book, but I have been like, I've been knowing that she is involved in something, and it was just so satisfying to see that she has been pretending to be Prospect the whole time. It also surprised me a little bit because I hadn't been thinking about it as much, you know, while reading this book. I was getting distracted by other things, by thinking about Cass and stuff like that. So yeah, basically she has been pretending to be Prospect, the criminal, for like all these years, and I really love that for her. So basically her and Kel kind of finally hash it out, finally are honest with each other, and they're both like, okay, well, you've been lying to me. They both have reasons to be mad at each other, and now they're just kind of coming clean, starting over, and it's looking pretty promising for the two of them as like a partnership, as a romance, because basically they're going to be working together in the next book. It leaves off in a nice way where I feel like we have a bit of a plan going into the next book, because I know I've critiqued this saying it feels all over the place, but I feel like we end in a place where we have a plan. Lynn and Aaron are going off on this quest to get Lynn's power up, and then we know Kel and like the Ragpicker King crew, and then also Antonetta and her crew are gonna like work together to take down Malghazi, whatever, to save Connor. We know Connor has his little plan going on, so I'm like, okay, like it's kind of leaving off on a good note where we know where everyone stands. Yeah, I just really like that we had another twist of like identity, because I think that's a huge thing in this book, is people having mistaken identities and things like that, or different names. I like that we had that reveal with Antonetta finally. I'm wondering what the third book is going to be called. I was thinking about that last night in bed because the first book was Swordcatcher, which is Kel's like special name. This is the Ragpicker King, which is like Adrian/Asher's special name. And I hope the third book is called something with the Goddess, which is like Lynn's special name that she's known for. So anyways, I just feel like it ended on a great note. I think I'm really invested in this world and with these characters. I feel like my only real critique has been like some of the pacing in this book and some of like wondering like what is going on, like what is the point of this. And also I do, with both of these books in the series, I do wish we had more humor, more of Cassandra Clare's iconic humor that she's put into some of her famous characters like Jace and Will and Simon. We don't have a lot of that, but I guess that's not the tone she wanted to go with for this, and that's fine. So yeah, please let me know if you read this, what you thought about it. These books are definitely not talked about as much as her Shadowhunter books, and so I feel like I don't see as much discussions on them or what people are thinking, but please leave my comment section down below with your thoughts and anything I mentioned in particular, any of your theories and things like that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end here, please subscribe for more book reviews and reading blogs like this. I hope you guys just have a great rest of your day. Bye.